Welcome to tonight's creepypasta madness. The whispers in the dark you'll experience this evening will lead you through the forgotten doors of haunted dwellings. Each story is a secret passage to a place where the air is thick with the tales of those who've come before. Every creak and sigh of the floorboards is a word in the language of the lost. These tales are bound by the common thread of secrets hidden within walls that have seen centuries pass, of echoes from the abyss that claw at the edges of reality. So settle in, dim the lights, and let the shadows dance. We invite you to lean into the mystery, to embrace the chill that crawls up your spine as we embark on a journey into the heart of hauntedness. The secrets that await are as boundless as the darkness itself. Story 1: The Crooked House.
In the heart of a forgotten town, shrouded in the mist of oblivion, stood the Crooked House. It was a structure so twisted and gnarled, not merely by architecture, but by the eerie tales that clung to its crumbling walls. The house, a relic of a bygone era, was rumored to have been the site of unspeakable events, its history a tapestry woven from nightmares and whispered fears. Legend had it that the Crooked House was once the abode of the Hargraves, a family shrouded in mystery and darkness. The patriarch, Jonathan Hargrave, was a man obsessed with the occult, delving into practices that blurred the line between the living and the dead. It was said that one fateful night, the house itself turned against its inhabitants, fed up with the atrocities committed within its walls. The family disappeared, leaving behind a home that seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. Decades passed, and the Crooked House remained untouched, a monument to fear. It was during one particularly chilling autumn that a group of teenagers, fueled by curiosity and the reckless invincibility of youth, decided to explore the house. They were drawn to its mystery, to the challenge it represented, and perhaps to the whispered promises of finding something truly otherworldly. The group entered the house as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to dance along with the flickering light of their flashlights. The air inside was thick, heavy with the scent of decay and the weight of unspoken secrets. As they moved from room to room, it became apparent that the house was not merely a structure. It was an entity, watching them with unseen eyes, breathing along with them in the silence. It started with small things, a whisper here, a shadow flitting just out of sight, a cold breath on the back of a neck. The group laughed it off at first, attributing it to their imagination, the power of suggestion in such a setting. But as they went deeper into the heart of the Crooked House, the occurrences became harder to dismiss. In the grand hall, where portraits of the Hargraves hung, their eyes seemed to follow every movement. A piano, covered in dust, played a single note, echoing through the empty corridors as if calling out to something or someone. And then there was the mirror room, a chamber lined with mirrors that didn't quite reflect reality. Instead, they showed glimpses of the house's tragic past, the Hargraves' final moments, and something else, something indescribable, lurking just beyond perception. Panic set in, and the group attempted to flee, only to find the house had other plans. Doors that were once open were now sealed shut. Windows showed only the impenetrable darkness outside, and the corridors twisted and turned, leading them in circles. The house was alive, and it was angry. It was only when dawn broke, its light seeping through the cracks in the boarded-up windows, that the house seemed to calm, its hunger sated for now. The teenagers emerged, shaken and forever changed. They spoke little of what occurred, the truth too terrifying to be believed. The crooked house still stands, a silent sentinel in the mist. It waits for the next unwary souls to cross its threshold, to uncover its secrets and awaken its wrath. For in the crooked house, the boundary between the living and the dead is but a thin veil, easily torn by those foolish enough to try.
Story 2, The Lighthouse Keeper's Descent.
In the quaint coastal town of Marrow's End, there stood a lighthouse, abandoned and feared, known as Beacon's Hollow. Its story was one of sorrow and madness, intertwined with the fate of its last keeper, Elias Crane. I had always been drawn to the forlorn structure, its silhouette a constant, eerie presence against the horizon, calling to me with a whisper that felt like a shiver down my spine. Elias was a man of the sea, as solitary and mysterious as the depths he once navigated. When he took the role of the lighthouse keeper, it was said that the isolation suited him, that he found solace in the monotonous sweep of the light across the dark, churning waters. But isolation breeds more than solace. It breeds shadows and whispers, thoughts that twist and coil like the sea serpents of old sailors' tales. It began with the fog, a dense, suffocating mist that rolled in with the tide, enveloping Beacon's Hollow in a blanket of silence. It was in this fog that Elias's mind began to unravel, or so the story goes. He spoke of voices on the wind, a call that beckoned him to the edge of sanity and beyond. He wrote of a presence in the lighthouse, a malevolence that seeped from the very walls, a darkness that sought to consume not just the light, but the keeper himself. Driven by an inexplicable pull to understand Elias's fate, I found myself standing at the threshold of Beacon's Hollow on a similarly fog-shrouded evening. The door creaked open at my touch, revealing a spiral staircase that wound upwards into shadow. With each step, I felt the oppressive weight of the lighthouse's history, the air thick with unspoken fears. At the top, I found the lamp room, its once proud light now dim and lifeless. And there, in the center of the room, stood a figure, Elias Crane, or what was left of him, his eyes hollow, his form ethereal. He spoke of the light, how it was never meant to ward off the darkness of the sea, but to keep at bay something far more ancient and malevolent, something that now, without the light, would rise. As his words faded, the fog thickened, swirling with shapes that twisted and writhed in the dimness. The darkness at the heart of Beacon's Hollow was awake, and I understood then the true nature of Elias's madness. It was not the isolation that had driven him to despair, but the burden of his duty, a duty to hold back the dark. With a start, I awoke, lying at the base of the lighthouse, the morning sun burning away the last vestiges of fog. Was it a dream, a vision spurred by the tales of Elias Crane? Or had I glimpsed the truth hidden within Beacon's Hollow, a truth that Elias had sacrificed his sanity to protect? As I walked away, I looked back only once, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon me. The lighthouse stood silent, a guardian between two worlds, its story a warning whispered on the wind, a warning that some lights should never dim.
Story 3, Whispers from the Ashwood Estate.
In the heart of a town that time seemed to have forgotten stood the Ashwood Estate, a mansion as old as the cobblestone streets that led to its iron-gated entrance. Its history was etched into every stone, whispered in every gust of wind that coursed through its empty halls. My interest in Ashwood was more than mere curiosity. It was personal. My great-grandfather had been its last known resident, disappearing under circumstances as mysterious as the estate itself. The day I decided to explore Ashwood, the sky was a canvas of grays, painting a grim backdrop that seemed fitting for what I might find. The air was thick with a chill that seeped into my bones, a physical manifestation of the apprehension that knotted my stomach. The estate loomed before me, its silhouette a stark contrast against the overcast sky, windows like darkened eyes watching my every move. With each step I took toward the main entrance, I felt the weight of unseen gazes upon me, as if the house itself was aware of my presence. I entered through the heavy oak doors, their creak a loud proclamation of my intrusion into a space that had not welcomed a living soul for decades. The air inside was stale, carrying the scent of decay and forgotten memories. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light that penetrated the gloom, the only evidence of movement in the otherwise still mansion. It was in the heart of the house, a grand hall with a staircase that spiraled upwards into darkness, that I first heard the whispers. They were soft, barely audible, like the sigh of the wind through the trees. But as I stood there, rooted to the spot, they grew louder, more insistent. Words formed from the unintelligible murmurs, a plea for help, for release from a torment that had spanned generations. The whispers guided me, drawing me deeper into the mansion, to a room shrouded in shadows. The air grew colder here, the atmosphere charged with a palpable sense of dread. And then I saw him, a figure barely discernible in the dim light, his features obscured by the passage of time. He spoke of the estate's curse, a darkness that had claimed the souls of those who dwelled within its walls, binding them to the mansion for eternity. My great-grandfather was among them, his spirit unable to find peace, tormented by the secrets that Ashwood kept hidden in its heart. The figure implored me to break the curse, to uncover the truth buried beneath layers of lies and deceit. It was a task that many had attempted, he warned, all failing, their fates sealed by the malevolence that permeated every brick, every pane of glass. I left Ashwood that day with a heavy heart, the whispers of the damned echoing in my ears, a constant reminder of the task that lay ahead. To free the souls of Ashwood, to unearth the darkness at its core, was to venture into the unknown, to confront a horror that had defied time itself. As I walked away, the estate seemed to watch, its windows reflecting the dying light of day, a silent sentinel guarding its secrets, waiting for the moment when the truth would finally be revealed.